hi to everyone. And before coming to the topic, I was actually given this topic of self-reliance, where we have to. This is the theme of this particular year's productivity week. And Mr. Vivek from PSG Institute, where I passed out, he just gave me a call and he told, "Why don't you make a presentation?" I was immediately I said, "Yes, fine. Giving a presentation is not a big deal. I can give a presentation." But after I promised, then I realized that it is really coming out of my comfort zone because this is my first experience to address all. You all people in this kind of forum. So it was clearly coming out of my comfort zone to prepare a content which would be really useful for viewers, and it should not be like a just like a presentation copied from somewhere and then trying to say something. So I took time to make this presentation and then to go ahead with that particular plan. And for doing this, we have to really come out of our comfort zone making presentation. So that is the first point of self-reliance. You have to believe in yourself rather than believing in anyone else. So giving a good productivity starts from you, and then it goes to the company. So I just want to start with this note. Let me go to the presentation part. Is my presentation visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Basically, as I said, my presentation will be on thoughts on better productivity through self-reliant supply chain management. Supply chain management, as I said, it's a vast topic, and in that, I want to talk about being self-reliant supply chain management, how to go about it. So, specific to power sector and an EPC contractor's perspective, I'm trying to explain. And EPC means engineering, procurement, and construction. So what is the traditional way of? I understand that it's a combination of audience where people who are students as well as faculty members and experienced people are there. So I wanted to give a brief idea on traditional way and the supply chain management way. So traditional way, it was basically focusing on purchasing, low cost purchasing, the best way, dumping it and going ahead. But other related disadvantages for that, no one was bothered about it. Then only this particular term supply chain management was coined. So what does this supply chain management really gives? This is a brief intro for the people who are having no idea about supply chain management. It is basically to adapt the supply chain as per the customer's need and align the customer's need, that is whatever the demand, across the supply chain, right from the ultimate client till the last stage. The demand has to be conveyed, and we have to strategically outsource based on the requirement and customize our logistics arrangement. We have to focus on the quality, time, and based on costing. So basically, time, quality, and cost, we have to juggle around this to get our maximum benefit. So this is a brief intro about supply chain. Now, basic understanding of supply chain in a pictorial view, I'm trying to explain. Right from the supplier end, the raw material, and then the raw material gets transported and goes to the manufacturer. And the manufacturer end, it again goes, if it is offshore, that is from an international supplier, the uh, the material comes from the port and then reaches your site. And all these are being tracked by material tracking system. Basically, this particular all this supply chain has to be integrated with all the things: supplier management, analysis, shipping management, warehouse management, order management. Any anomaly detection should be popped out, and data integration and inventory management. All this presently we are doing with SAP, and we are also developing a completely IT enabled system where it can cover from end to end, from vendor side till our customer side. We are developing. During the course of the discussion, I will explain you about it. Now, coming to the perspective of what supply chain means to a EPC business. EPC, again, as I told you, engineering, procurement, and construction. So if you see, the photo, the image slide looks very clumsy. Sorry about it, but I just wanted to explain you my, basic supply chain. People generally talk about only the material, raw material coming and the material being supplied. It is not that alone when it comes to a EPC business. There is an ultimate client and there is a main contractor who does the erection and commissioning. For him, he gets the engineering and supply by a subcontractor. This subcontractors subsequently, I mean, also gets the material, raw material from a vendor, and then it gets fabricated or the equipment gets ready, and this is the material supply chain. Similarly, logistic supply chain is also there. When it comes to erection commissioning, there is a supply chain for labor. What quantum of labor is required at which time, that is defined under this supply chain, and then the equipment supply chain. 750 cranes. I'm just giving a simple example. If you just park a 750-ton crane, each month we have to pay a rent of 1 lakh rupees. So that is the amount of liability if you incur if you mismanage your supply chain. At the right moment, a right item has to come. Here we are slightly differing from manufacturing setup. Manufacturing setup, they go in just in time. Supply chain will be just required because they have space restrictions. And but in a power sector, it is not a concern. There is other planning where high cost is involved. Close to this particular projects will be close to 4,500 crores to 5,000 crore project. So in this particular thing, if you see the supply chain, labor, equipment, material, and logistics supply chain travels from the point one, that is the source of raw material, the source area, till the ultimate client. But when it comes to the information and engineering supply chain, it the ultimate client designs the technical specification. It goes to the end user, and from again the end users, the information pass on to the client for approval. So the information system should be very clear to manage the information flow from the client to the raw material supplier, and then other way around also. Similarly, everyone talks about the material, logistics, and the manpower for the supply chain. The most important part is the cash flow. People, they neglect this part. Without the cash flow and without the specific document or information on time to a supplier, irrespective of whether it's equipment supplier or a material supplier or equipment supplier or a logistics supplier, if the details and the cash flow doesn't go at the right time, you will not get the material at your right time. This is the simple thumb rule to execute the substation effectively. Now, going on to, I will come back to the slide whenever I have to separate. This is a brief idea on how a EPC business supply chain works. So improving the productivity, again, you have to improve the supply chain management network. When you do this, what benefits do you get? The first benefit is the total cost of ownership comes down, and you can negotiate a price and terms that is suitable for the entire supply chain. I'll give you a brief example for this. Critical pipings. So those items are imported. They have a minimum order quantity. Like they don't accept more than 100, I mean, less than 100 ton or less than 150 tons. But if I have given an order to a supplier and his scope of BOQ is only 50 ton, and another supplier, a different item, the scope of work is another 50 ton, I can merge these requirements and again give it to the I can procure this raw material as a single item, as a central procurement system, and then pass it on to these two suppliers. So how I manage the system, that's what matters. So how to do this, how to improve it? According to me, there are only three tantras to keep close watch on the supply chain management. You should have a very self-reliant contract management system, very, very strong contract management system. And you should have a very, very strong project and planning execution. And you should have a self-reliant information system. I will, during my presentation, I will explain about these three. These three are the important facts. Every other aspect come under these three facts. And if there is a self-reliant supply chain management, it will 100% improve the company's productivity. Now, understanding the self-reliant contract management process. What is an agreement? For example, I will give you a transportation service. I am having a big order, and there is 30 vehicles which has to be placed, and the materials is ready with the suppliers. The cost of this material is close to 50 crores. And I give an order. Okay, this is the pickup location. This is the delivery location. I just give this in the order. In that, he will, if I say, okay, go pick up this material, he may take his own time to go pick up. And who will bear that expenses? I have a material of 50 crores ready, which the supplier is not able to deliver to me, and Ultimately, I am not able to deliver to my ultimate client and earn that 50 crores for a simple reason that the lorry driver didn't go on time. So we should have a very systematic agreement with him. So a systematic agreement will have a clear scope, clear contact information, and penalties. If he doesn't go on time, this is the penalty. If you have a detention, if the vehicle is standing outside the factory for more than 3 days, there is a penalty for the vendor. So we have to design the contract very clearly so that the agreement is being taken very seriously. Nothing but an agreement enforced at law is a contract. It's very clear. So same agreement, if you define in a write-up and clearly define the scope and the penalties and the clarity of work, then this is a contract. Now, contract, as I told you, the contract management is the important aspect of implementation of project and executing in the timely manner and reduce the total cost of ownership. Are all the contracts self-reliant? This cannot be, all the contract cannot be self-reliant. If you don't create a contract well, you will not be able to successfully execute the contract. Like giving a small example, in olden days we just follow the traditional technique. If the father comes and beats, like a stick, teacher comes and the stick and then comes, automatically kids will have the fear and the pressure to complete the work. That in the present stage, if there is a contract which is administrable by law, that is what is the stick here for the professionals. We can control the client as well as the vendors with the very properly made contract. This is a very important aspect. Now, how do we write a contract? Well, we have to define the responsibility of either sides, what the supplier has to do, what I have to do. That is, we have to define it very clearly. The contract process, payment and deliveries should be clear and it has to be followed to the T. And engineering quality and inspection requirements has to be properly monitored and it has to be defined. For example, we have to write within this time of the contract, 15 days or 20 days, we have to, that is, the purchaser has to give the drawing. If the purchaser doesn't give the drawing, there's a provision that the supplier can say ask for a delivery extension immediately. That is uh, that is giving a watch on the package owners and the accountability. And we have to do the remedial actions on the disputes and the defaults created by the supplier. For that also we have to take action. If at all a supplier is delaying or if equipment performance is poor, we have to take all that into consideration in the contract building. Now coming to understanding the contract well, we define the contract very well, we write the contract very well, but unless this contract has been established and clearly the communication goes to the other party, we will not be successful. So, understanding contractors, should have a proper clarity on the scope of work, terminal points, and other major responsibility. We should also be implementing effective security requirements, which means that, like security requirements in the sense bank guarantees or guarantee provisions or defect liability period, we should have some security with us so that, like I said, like a stick, we should be able to monitor them. Same thing is with the client also. We should know how, if this client is delaying, we should be able to clearly say that you have delayed this document and this time extension I need. And we have to continuously review this provisions. It is not necessary that all the provisions in the contract, like a Bible, whenever there is a requirement to change, we have to accept that and we have to go for the change and go ahead with the new amendment in the contracts. Now, how to execute the contract well? We have to be regularly monitoring it, verify the contract requirements, find proper solutions for it. Timely, we have to give the claims to the vendor saying that you have not done the work on time, or timely give the notification to the client saying that, sir, you have not completed the foundation. Without completing the foundation, I cannot go ahead. So, whatever the obligation you have with the client, you have to notify that this particular obligation you have not completed. Because of this obligation, I am not able to go ahead with my work. So clear communication should be there in records for us to go ahead having a strong contract management. These are all will definitely improve the productivity in the customer end as well as in vendor end. Now, there are some in the supply chain management, there are some critical benefits like deem exports, project import duties for mega projects like our projects, what we execute in National Power Corporation. It is all government projects and they are all mega projects. So there are some import duty benefits and excise duty waivers are available against project authority certificate. So whatever benefits I am getting from my kind, I have to pass it on till my end user so that my total cost of ownership is reduced. For example, I don't have to pay customs duty under the provisions. And even my raw material, when my sub vendor is importing a raw material, he should also get the benefit. So my contract has to be defined in such a way that all benefits I'm getting has to be passed on to the end user. I mean, starting point. My end user, whatever benefit he is giving, the starting point should also get it. Essentials of a contract. As I told, whatever I have told, without having a contract and with having a contract, what all basic fund does? It aids the business functioning very well. It will have a control. We can have a clear thought, and it improves the cross-functional efficiency. It will improve the cash flow management. You know which material is coming at what time and how much money you will be required. You can easily forecast your requirement, and you can also forecast your inflows from your client, and you can increase your visibility of the supplier, which means that you can see whether he is performing, not performing. If he should be able to know what is the milestone which we are looking for, that milestone has to be carried forward to the suppliers. And also it also enforces and improves the compliances, the quality compliances, the safety compliances, everything will be defined clearly in the contract. And certainly possibilities of performance improvement will be there when there is all these criteria are taken care in the contract. Now, basically, in power plant, I mean, power projects contracts, the formation of the self-reliant contract has been taken. I would say that these are the basic documents from which we have taken or copied the contract terms. So, FIDIC is International Federation of Consulting Engineers, and World Bank, everyone knows about it, and ENA is Engineering Advancement Association. These are the people who have set contract which has taken care of all the required provisions to have, as I told, a stick to take care of the client as well as your vendor. Now, how to do the best utilization of critical provisions in the contract? The critical provision in the contract, I would name scope of work, terms of payment, taxes and duties, delivery schedules, delivery and work schedules, LD for, I mean, liquidated damage or penalty for the delay in supply and shortfall in the performance, and then defect liability period, which is nothing but the warranty period, and the bank guarantees, dispute settlement agreements. All these has to come in the contract provisions very clearly. These are all critical points. Other than that, there are termination, suspension clauses. Now, when it comes to defining the technical specification in the contract, we have to take care that there is no ambiguity in the specification. There should not be any conflict or stipulation elsewhere in the contract that one place you are talking about X and the same place we have the same item we are talking Y in other place. So we should have a uniformity of the data, and we should avoid multiple stipulations. We should take due care of to avoid post award changes like amendment. If anything critical is required, then we can go about it. But we should keep the contract when it is released in a very clean way. And sample quality plans and major acceptable sub-vendors list should be given earlier itself to avoid any post-award disputes. The vendor, I mean, we should be very clear on what is our requirement on the quality and the vendor. We cannot go to any smaller vendor. We will have a set defined vendors that vendors only will get. And again, this is coming from the ultimate client. Ultimate client has a requirement that you have to go only to the approved vendors. We have to go as per my supplier also should take care of that aspect. And terminal point should be clear. There should not be any scope clarity difference where the platform comes, where the scope differences are there. All these issues should not be there. We should have a clarity on that, and there should be a penalty for the shortfall in the performance. That should be clear. And similarly, conditions like payment terms, contract payment terms should be self-sustaining. The cash flow, whatever payment terms breakup we are designing, that is
10 percentage against advance, or 80 percentage during execution, and 10% against performance guarantee. All this has to be back to back. What we have agreed with the client, we have to agree the same with our supplier. By doing this, we will be able to have a very clear cash flow management. What I my supplier bills, immediately I can bill it to my client, get that money, pay my supplier. My payment term should be self-sustaining, and the mode and periodicity of the payment should be very explicitly mentioned in the contract. And delivery and work should be elaborated, and we should link every milestone with the payments. That is the agenda, because what is the requirement from our ultimate client has to be passed on to our uh, vendors. Then taxes and provisions has to be taken care. LD for the delay has to be mentioned properly, and any defaults or enforcement has to be clearly defined. Whatever dispute rises, we should be able to know how we are going to solve this. In which agency, whether are we going to go to the court or arbitration, or is it will be settled through MSME Act, or it will be through NCLT. Everything has to be defined in the contract in the award stage itself. Now, understanding the project management process. Project management process for a self proper integration of project, having a scope of, scope, cost, quality, communication, procurement, risk, and human resource integrated with the specific time. To do this, we should have whatever I have given here, we should have a proper kickoff meeting. Once the order is awarded to the contractor, we should have a proper kickoff meeting. Then we have to establish the project scope, communicate effectively and regularly to the vendor as well as our client, collaborate the delivery as per the project sequence, risk evaluation. We should know the supplier if it's going to default. We should assess the risk in advance, and we should have an alternative plan. We should be transparent to the project. We should be able to say if there is a problem, we have to convey that problem to our client, and we should find an alternative solution. And there should be a clear cross-functional coordination on this. There should be clear information passing on in both the sides. And what if there is a change required, we should be able to accommodate those changes also. And there should be a proper document and record keeping. Again, only the documents will be talking. Even when you're, as I told you, agreement, just talking on the phone, sending WhatsApp messages saying that do this job will not work out. Sending a proper contractual letter will make a difference, and keeping a record of that. That is very important. And we should not put an unrealistic milestone that if a job we know that if it can be completed only by 6 months' time, and based on the pressure from our client, we should not pass it on to our vendor saying that I need particular job in 3 months' time. That is unrealistic milestone, which will unnecessarily delay your further process. The supplier will never be able to complete it, and it will create a new problems. So we should avoid that. Then we should keep updating, appreciating the supplier on his performance, and also noting down wherever he is going down. And wherever incentives are received from the client, we have to pass it on to our vendor. And similarly, if my client is putting a penalty on me, I should be able to pass it on to my vendor. So by this, I will also have a cost control, and my budget will not also exit. And when we are doing all this, we have to take care of the safety aspect very, very importantly in project-based companies. Now, taking care of self-reliant information system. As I told you, the three major things: self-reliant contract management, self-reliant project management, self-reliant information management. These are the core things to take care of self-reliant supply chain management. Now, coming to end-to-end IT integrated, customized supply chain management solution. There should be a single place where the supplier should be able to do the supplier registration, supplier evaluation can be done in that site itself, performance rating can be done, e-tendering can be done where the supplier can submit the tender and we can evaluate, and online itself we should be able to issue the purchase order. And once the purchase order is issued in the online portal itself, the vendor should be able to access the submission. For example, he should be able to, as per the contract provisions, that is within a week or within a month's time, he has to submit a L2 network, and if he has to submit a quality plan. So there should be a timeline there is a timeline which is specified in this IT enabled. Within 15 days means 15 days will come. If this activity is not completed by the vendor within 15 days, there will be a pop-up to the purchaser saying that there is a delay. So by this pop-up, we will be able to communicate to the vendor with a default notice saying that as per the contract, you have to complete this work by this time, and you have not completed, you will be having a liability for this as a penalty. If we initially itself, if we communicate this, the vendor will get clarity on this and he will start working on it. And by doing this, we will be able to take care of delivery extensions or delay in supplies. Now again, scheduling L2 network that is submitted by the vendor, we can review it and approve it. Then every monthly progress report can be submitted online. Then dispatch inspection and dispatch tracking can be done online. And material, once it is supplied, the site, it can do the inspection and then certify it online from the site itself. And we will get the once we get the goods receipt certification, we can accept the inward invoice from the vendor, and we can do the certification based on the goods receipt. And then we can, once the material is available that site, we can allocate this material to the contractor and also have a tracking on the erection and commissioning progress by doing the starting point till the end point. And from this, we can also integrate to our client system, because this is the integration between the vendor and us. Now between us and the client, there is the same kind of system is there. So once our job is completed, our erection job is completed, we similarly post our work completion on their site, and then we have a linkage towards our payment receipt. So once my bill is clear, I will pay my supplier's bill, and then he will also get the cash flow. He can then carry on with the next work also. So by doing this integrated system, we will be able to have a clarity from supplier till the client's end. So I have been little fast on my presentation. I hope people have understood. But if any doubts are there, I'm open for questions. Thank you so much.
Sir, is there any specific course or like diploma course or like that for supply chain management?
Sir, actually, I'm doing a course in a website called Swayam, which is a government-aided course. They have courses in various, like you have a lot of online courses which is available, but this Swayam website is actually government-aided and it is free. And the universities which are giving you the certification is like, for example, IAMB, and even the law institution also, all IGNO, all are premium institutions which are giving you the certification. So people can log on, can check this website. There are courses which is coming almost every week, and different types. I'm also doing a present course in strategic management. So it is quite useful. You can also try that. SK Vishwa has asked a question. I'm seeing the chat box. There was a question which has come. Can you give an example of the company that does the best SCM? Our own Amazon. யோசிச்சு பாருங்க. Just from the raw material, he is having a RFID where he knows from the raw material till it reaches the product reaches the client. He has clearly defined the barcode, and he knows where this particular material is, in which warehouse it is available, and how much quantity is available, and when it is going to be delivered.
Yes.
So that is the best supply chain management which is going on. So Amazon is the best example I can give.
Your presentation is very concise and it is very informative, sir. It's the PowerPoint presentation. If we see bluntly, we cannot fully understand without your illustration. Even if we are having that PowerPoint, we cannot go through. It is our pride that you have extended your all thoughts and experiences in this productivity week celebrations. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all participants. We'll meet in next tomorrow also. Thank you. Thank you.
See you. Bye.
See you all. Bye.